Ta-da! Here I am. Good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. I, of course, am here with your daily mortgage rate update. If you don't know me, well, you wouldn't be here if you didn't know me, but I'm Hammer. Remember, Hammer Solutions. It's the name of my company. Founder of products like Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei. Those are three of the products that I currently have in my portfolio that of our company. So remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget to go ahead and give me hashtag replay in the comments. If you are looking for a reminder on joining me, remember, you can go ahead and sign up at hmmr.io/reminder or use this cool QR code over here. And we will go ahead and send you a quick text reminder that I'm going live so you don't miss anything. All right. Love to do that with you. Today, we're going to be talking about the government shutdown. What now? And will the U.S. default on its debt? Now, I know Ron Siegel is over here going, hammer, 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 hammer. Ron, don't. No spoilers. I got you. All right. So we're going to talk about the government shutdown. It's a little bit different than shutdowns in the past, but we'll definitely be talking about the shutdown and rates. What I don't want to get into is whose fault it is and why it is and all that stuff. I really just don't want that drama. I'm tired of the drama. I've realized nobody's opinion is going to change. I tend to be very middle of the road, very like critical thinking. I look at things. I try to think about like why, but a lot of people are just one side or the other. And you know what? I'm in business. You're in business. I'm not doing this anymore. But we're going to talk about what effect it's having on rates and all that good stuff. The IRS still open. That's something new for this shutdown. We'll talk about that a little bit, what that means for you with loans. And Tony bites the dust. But why? I don't know why. We're going to find out a little bit. So anyway, if you're here this morning, say good morning. All of my friends, my live friends here. Mike Morano, good angle. ADP today was lower. Yeah, but the ADP, Mike, doesn't matter. Nobody pays attention to the ADP anyway. It really doesn't move anything. It did come in. It was weak, but it doesn't really matter. Definitely, but it's, we can talk about it, but it's not the BLS report, which we're not going to get on Friday because there's no way the government shutdown will be lifted by then. So good morning, Mega Basel. Randy Tico, giddy up, sir. Randy, you asked me, I think it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, is there any chance we get a rebound after we lost ground from the Fed meeting? The answer was no back then. Now the answer is, but you're telling me there's a chance. But you're telling me there's a chance. And we'll talk about that. It's the government shutdown is the variable here. We'll talk about why that could possibly give us a little bit of a bounce. Mike Brown, good morning. Michael Love, good to see you. Monica Dinkins, Mallory Fotiadis, Matt Rasner, Mike Morano, Sean Segaloff, live. Woohoo! Good to have you here, my friend. Travel safe. I hope you represent as promised. I did my part. You do your part. Talk up, Originator Success, Grab and Go Social. I appreciate you, Sean. You're one of our diplomats and ambassadors. I appreciate you, man. Have fun at Next Fest, and tell Cordis that you guys want me there next time. I would love to come and speak for y'all. It doesn't even have to be about rates. We could talk about something fun. Anyway, good morning, Amy Blauser, Holly Johnson, Greta Cheney. Yep. Got my hat on, Randy. My head has been cold the last couple of days. Ron Siegel said, today we are celebrating National Homemade Cookie Day. Love me some homemade cookies. My belly does not love me homemade cookies. What's your favorite kind of cookie? Let me know in the comments. What is your favorite homemade cookie? What is your favorite homemade cookie? Hey, Bobadilla. Say good things about me at NexaFest, my friend. I know you're there too. Tom Stafford, good morning. Brandy Brickler. Yeah, Randy said social media has been a huge tool to divide. You know what, too, is what's funny is the people that are talking That's not hurting as much as the people that are watching. And I need this advice for myself. So we'll come back to that one. But what's your favorite type of chocolate chip cookie or chocolate chip, right? What's your favorite type of homemade cookie and why is it chocolate chip? What's your favorite? What is your favorite homemade? So we're not talking those big Costco cookies. What is your favorite homemade cookie and why is it chocolate chip? I'm gonna put that in here. I think that's awesome. All right. So that is the question of the day. I want to know in the comments. I'll come back and read them at the end. What is your favorite homemade cookie? And if you want bonus points, tell me who used to make it. Like my mom made cookies. My mom wasn't a big mom, but I remember she would bake chocolate chip cookies. It's probably why I like chocolate chip cookies. My mother passed away at 50, by the way, in 2008. 2008 was such a great year, wasn't it? Oh, such a wonderful year in my life. But yeah, I mean, so I remember fondly of my mother and chocolate chip cookies. So anyway, that's it. My favorite homemade cookie, and they're not to get too sentimental. While you guys are filling that in, let's talk about what we got going on with the market stuff. I know that that's why you're here. We'll get to that. So, quick recap what happened. Bonds lost some ground yesterday afternoon. Not enough to panic over by any means. In fact, there really weren't even any reprices worse. Is this not? There it goes. Okay. So, but if you take a look here, pricing came out. We were kind of at the high point of the day. And then you can see that they lost ground through the day, ended the day lower. That is, of course, a frowny face. We don't like to see mortgage-backed securities go lower. However, this drop down here, like I said, it wasn't really enough for pricing to cause a lot of reprices worse. This morning, we're back up. And if we draw as straight of a line as I can over here, which is not that great, we're not too far off. So we're basically the same. Pricing is going to be the same today as what you saw yesterday. Rate sheets are basically unchanged. This morning's gains basically washing out yesterday's losses here. And reprice risk on the day is low. There's no reason to expect any big movement. Take a look up here at the 10-year Treasury yield. That is down to 4.09. I want you to kind of catch that attention. Remember, we peaked right here last week, at the end of last week. That was when the 10-year Treasury yield peaked. We were back up to about 4.18, 4.17, 4.18. Now coming back down. Now, yesterday, it ended, come on. Yesterday, it ended at 4. Actually, let's make this 1 month. So it's, there you go. So yesterday it ended at 4.15. This morning down to 4.9. This is a precursor to mortgage-backed securities improving. Of course, you've got the spread, the difference between how mortgage bonds move and the 10-year Treasury yield. But this is a precursor. We've seen this move about 5 basis points lower, right? If we take a look here again, yesterday was 4.15, 4.15. Today, 4.09. So that's actually 6 minus 6 bips, BPS, right? So that's minus 6 bips on the day already. And it's a good precursor for where we're going from here. So keep that in mind on where things are at. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, put myself back on the screen. Let's talk about the government shutdown. So I'll go to the headlines to get to that. By the way, the big computer, I have the desk in the workshop area downstairs in the barn. I haven't given you guys a barn tour. So if you want, stick around to the end. I'll give you a quick tour of the barn. And I'm this close to being done. I'll show you where we're at on things. Well, being done with phase 1. So anyway, government shutdown. What's different this time? Usually IRS transcripts are a problem. Not this time. So the IRS says that they're going to continue to do business as usual for 5 business days. So we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is 3, and then 2 days next week. It basically puts you up to a full week. And then they're going to reassess. The reason they can do that is they're using money that was already set aside for the IRS and isn't part of a budget package. They're using the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act funds which, by the way, never had anything to do with inflation, didn't reduce it, and was strictly for the headlines, that name. But that's what's going on with the IRS. So you're still going to get that. Flood insurance, not going to happen. Your other reports, not going to happen. Fannie Freddie still buying stuff. Basically, FHA should be fine. I don't want to get into the thing on the HUD website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to HUD.gov. I don't need to talk about the radical left. It's disappointing that we're throwing mud at each other like this. It really is. I realize no matter how for or against, it's just disappointing. I mean, I don't know how you can support that, but some people do. And if you do, again, I don't know. I'm blessed. Thankfully, our products are good enough that even if you don't like me anymore, maybe you'll still buy them. I don't know. Our platforms, they get you business, so you got to decide. But anyway, not to go too far down that rabbit hole. The things that USDA, not going to happen. If you got a USDA loan and it's already got a commitment, it'll close. But if you need a new commitment, they're not working right now, so that could affect you there. We've also got, of course, flood insurance. I think we already talked about not working. VA is still continuing to do their thing. A lot of that is essential and already gets funded, by the way. Now, I threw out there before, I said we were going to talk about the government shutdown and defaulting on debt. That doesn't happen in a government shutdown. That's when we argue over the debt ceiling and what we borrow. So when the US doesn't borrow, then we run out of money because we're constantly borrowing. That's a much bigger concern and more of a sense of urgency, quite frankly, than a government shutdown. During Trump's last administration, we did a partial shutdown, and really, they're all partial because last time it was they say 4 out of 10 employees that were shut down. This time they say it's about a third. So that's 3 out of 10, I guess, 3.3. That wouldn't be. So there's a little bit of a difference this time around, but the shutdown just means that certain things aren't going to be open and working, but yet most of the government really still is. However, the government that's not, they say it's 700. This is what I read. And for what it's worth, who knows, right? 750,000 people will not go to work this morning. And it's a cost of about 4 million in compensation for because basically you're paying people to stay home. We're not paying them immediately. They're furloughed, but they will be paid back pay when the government does. You're talking 4 million a day. Just what a huge machine our government is. It's all crazy. It's all crazy. So Marana said, bottom line, they're holding up an existing 24-page bill, short-term funding bill, and demanding foreign aid, NPR money. Mike, I don't want to get into all of it. I don't. There's so much. I've read so many conflicting things. It's hard to even see some of the stuff there. And one thing I will comment on what you're commenting is that they're betting that Americans won't understand how this works. Both sides are betting Americans won't understand how this works, and both sides are right. You've got they're both weaponizing this, and it's about votes and it's about popularity. So, and I don't want to go to. I just don't want to have this argument too much. If you want to have a private one where we're not kind of talking about it and like everything, I'll chat with you more about it. But as far as a public stance, you know what, guys? It doesn't affect mortgage rates. We're not going to go down that one. Ron, you pointed that out before. 100,000 employees say they will resign if there's a shutdown. I would like to know what the source was for that one. I saw you reference that, I think, on Facebook. I'd like to know the source, and I'd like to know, like, why would somebody say that? I don't know that I kind of not billion, million with an M. $4 million a day basically is the money that we're going to be paying 750,000 employees to stay home. Randy is where I read. And it's there. Robert Bashir, I spoke to the RLC yesterday. They said they're essential in business as usual. Yep. Hold on a second. Let me bring this up. Where is your comment? You do have concerns with active duty borrowers, unsure how that will affect their income. What I've read is that most lenders, if they're using income from a government employee who's not being paid, you can't use that income because technically they're not working. I'm sure that some lenders may create overlays for that anyway. I don't know if that's a Fannie stance. Um, and then for active duty, that's different than other government workers. So I don't know the answer to that question either. If anyone does know, feel free to let us know and source it, because anything that you're doing that you're talking about this stuff, you got to source it. We can't just use ChatGPT and trust it. So anyway, make sure we get to the important stuff. What is your favorite homemade cookie and why is it chocolate chip? Who's your favorite person that makes chocolate chip cookies for you? Put that stuff in the comments. Otherwise, I mean, as far as lock advice goes, let's kind of go into the longer term effects of what this will have on mortgage rates. So, right now, I'm going to flip back to the screens and we'll go to this, right? So, right now, you're seeing mortgage backed securities that are improving because we're seeing the government shutdown. The last couple of days, if we do a 5 day here, you can kind of see it. All right. As we've gotten closer to the shutdown, we've seen they've gone from down here. But then look, there was basically yesterday, it was like kind of right about there. And then today they're up a little bit, right? So there are a lot of articles about what effect this is going to have on the economy. The key thing is it depends on the amount of time. Okay. It depends on the amount of time that this thing stretches on for. The longer it runs, the more that it opens the door for rates to improve because of it. So you're not seeing an immediate flight to safety. You're not seeing, we are seeing mortgage bonds up a little bit. So I mean, I guess I'm contradicting myself. We do see some there. We are seeing that the 10-year treasury yield is here. The last time that we had a government shutdown, the 10-year dropped, I think it was a half a point. Ron or Mike Morano, I know you guys follow that stuff pretty closely. Do you guys remember that? That was in an article here. Let me see. Let me pull up the article because it was the one where he talks about somebody from Citibank. Citibank said it. So let me find it here. Now again, gold is surging. It seems like you can't go wrong if you buy gold. Like I'm not even going to put money in a savings account. I'm gonna build a safe and get buy gold. Um, it boosts havens. I was looking for the Citibank. Let's see. There's one of these articles about and it talks about Citibank. Damn it. Where was bear with me. Treasuries rose after employment, blah blah blah. That's all that. There was the guy from Citibank was saying that, and here's where I read that the Congressional Budget Office estimates 750,000 employees will be furloughed, a cost of 400 million per day in lost compensation. Right, but I was looking. Let me go to the main Bloomberg. The article talks about Citi. It talked about how rates went down, or the damn it. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't find it, but it talked about how the 10-year had dropped a half a point on the last one, and people were expecting, the longer it goes on, the more that's expected to affect the economy and the way it'll work. So, she's causing a mess down there. I hear it. Let's see. So, all right. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't find that part, but yeah. So if we were to see that, that would be huge. Obviously, rates would improve. The last data we have, if the shutdown lasts, the ADP and JOLTS were both negative, giving the Fed covered lower rates. They won't have NFP. Yeah, and you know what? That's important. I was going to talk about that too. Thanks, Ron, for pointing that out. So, and then we'll wrap this up. We're at 20 minutes, y'all. So take a look here. The expectation of a Fed rate cut, it's absolutely still in play for October. It's a 99%. And in fact, they're opening the door for an even bigger rate cut in October. December, that has, remember I told you we had to see this column. Columns have shifted. Okay, so let me put this on previous so that you can see this. So here we go. Remember I told you we had to see the expectation for December We were a month ago 40% expectation. Right now, rates are at 4.25. Right, so this is where we're at right now, 4.25. If we get another cut next month or at the end of October, now we're in October, that would bring us to here. If we get another cut in December, this is two cuts. That's what's being priced in. It was very low a month ago. It was lower a week ago. It was lower yesterday. And yesterday it was actually down here and went up. Remember, it was about just about 70. And then here it is. Now it's up over 90. And I had said yesterday, if we go back to yesterday's video, I said if we see this column increase, then you're going to see rate sheets improve. And that's why we're in a position. It's not the cause and effect necessarily, but there is congruency as well as causality. And you are going to see, markets are pricing in the idea now that we're going to see a rate cut in October, a rate cut in December, because they think the government shutdown is going to cause a slowdown in the economy. And it should push back against some of the inflation things and overall give the Fed a reason to go ahead and cut rates. So Ron's absolutely right about that one and where we're at that. So, Mahan, you got to start showing up on time. Yeah, we definitely have the potential to see mortgage rates improve more than we were at before. So I'll throw the screen up one more time and we'll wrap up on that. Let me go ahead and share that with you here. So if we take a look at, say, Mortgage News Daily as a reference point, we're just seeing a very, very small improvement. We were at 6.37 here. We're at 6.37 here. This morning, you'll see a little bit of improvement. It would be more like 6.35, right? So that would put us right back like where we were here. But, basically not too far down. Now, in order to get here and here, we could see that next week. We could see rates improve next week. So we are definitely in a floating stance, and you want to continue floating. Let me go ahead and bring that up. And then let's talk chocolate chip cookies. So float loans, let me bring up the caption so I can put that for lock advice. Lock advice, float. By the way, Antony, right? What happened with Antony? All of a sudden, Trump's pulling the plug. That has people speculating that the BLS jobs report was going to be really, really weak, and that Antony couldn't find a way to make the data look better than what it was. I think that's like a whole conspiracy theory. But he is not given a reason. There was no reason that I can find anywhere in any of the reports about why he pulled the nomination. But remember, it was an EJ Antony that was nominated for the BLS, and then now he pulled it. So, and there's nobody that's been put in to replace him. That's a definitely Trump move. We've seen him do this before, so we can't really read into it too much. There's a reason why he did what he did, but there's been nothing shared on why he pulled Antony or who is next to be nominated to take over the BLS. So BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we will see. Morano, thank you for coming up with that for me. Morano said that, yes, in the 2018 shutdown, the yield on the benchmark 10-year plunged by nearly half a point. I knew I had read it. I just couldn't find it. If we were to see that kind of a move, obviously, if the 10-year were to drop a half point, you're talking into the 3.5 range at this point, 3.6s it would be. That would be big in bringing down mortgage pricing. Probably see conventional rates in the fives, high fives. Don't prep for it, but it's possible. And isn't it gross that we have to hope that everything else goes wrong so that things for us can go right? Sometimes it feels so weird. Yeah, I saw what he wrote. I remember that article. I think it was in Wall Street Journal, Mike, that you said about BLS should suspend issuing monthly job reports until methodologies were corrected. But I mean, that was what Antony said when it says he. When you said he, it's Antony, but neither here nor there. Randy said for his part, I'll take lower rates. Yep, take them, baby. I'd love to tell you that I was wrong about that rebound. Look at what happens. Things change. That's why we always have to be kind of keeping an eye on it. So, all right, my friends, I'm going to go back and just look and see what kind of cookies you like. Monica, you are not a homemade cookie lover, really? No sweets for you? And let's see. I'm looking about. Oh, thanks, Nicole. Those were years ago. It always sucks to lose in the family, right? White chocolate macadamia nuts. And your kids love when you make oatmeal cream pies. Uh, your daughter's chocolate chip cookie. That is that your favorite, dude? That your daughter makes? That's awesome, Derek. John Jones, no bake oatmeal cookies. I've heard of those, but I don't know if I've ever had them. Morano, your mom's, I mean, your wife's, yeah, exactly. You better get your priorities straight. Pillsbury Big S'mores Cookie. I've never heard of that one either. I'll have to check that out. Um, Chocolate chip, but you want walnuts? I'm with you, Badita. I'll take walnuts in it. So I'm with you. All right, my friends, peanut butter or oatmeal raisin. Another vote for oatmeal raisin. A lot of oatmeal raisin lovers here. Siegel, Shelly, Derek, oatmeal raisin. So, also, I talked before about getting out there. Listen, we got to start pulling back on the political stuff on social. I see too many originators, guys. Cover your belly button. I said it on my post this morning. Defender's going to defend, haters going to hate, earner's going to earn. Be an earner. If you need some help with your social media, you need some content, you need some strategies to get out there and not be talking about all this stuff that we're surrounded with, go check out Grab and Go Social at grabandgosocial.com. Before we raise the price on that, it's grabandgosocial.com. Go check it out. And I'm going to end on that. All right, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see what life has to bring. All right. Take care.